Hi, we are the Our Healing Journey with Metabolic Psychiatry podcast, episode 2. Hello, Dyane. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm still standing.
Yeah, me too.
Or sitting.
Cool. Well, first we got to get this out of the way. It's very important. We are not medical professionals, and even though sometimes we may have them on the show, none of this is medical advice. This is for information purposes only, and you need to consult your providers with your personal needs. Very important.
Yes.
But maybe we'll give them something to ask their doctor about, right? So,
one of the purposes of our show.
So what are we going to talk about tonight?
What are we not going to talk about tonight? Our problem is cutting it back, right?
Yeah. And I would say too, like the number one question that I see people text us and email us and social media and all this is, what do you eat? You know, I mean, it's almost like accusatory, like they're, like they're scared, like to know like how their life would change and what they can eat and what they can't eat. And they're going to judge, they're either judging whether they can handle it or whether, they don't like the idea of like, oh, I can't eat like that, or that's not safe, or all these other kind of biases that might come up. So you want to talk about it?
Sure. Well,
Great.
what do you say when people ask you that?
That's a good question. I've had quite a history on that, but I'll tell you the quick answer is I eat mostly carnivore. I mean, I would say, you know, I didn't start that way when I did keto 14 months ago. But I ate the vegetables you're supposed to eat, you know, and we learned and I took some training courses, as you know, for with Nutrition Network for coaching. And it talks about how to guide people in the right ways to eat. And you have and we can post links to this, but there's a green list and an orange list, which is kind of like the, you know, this is not as good as the green list, but, you know, still okay in moderation. And then there's another red list, which you're not supposed to eat off of. And we can post links to those those free resources online.
I will do that.
So when I started, I would say I was pretty much like that. I would eat, some safer veggies for being in ketosis, which is really low carb, like broccoli. I love asparagus and broccoli. But over time, I found they sat in the drawer, you know, and I kind of defavor the meat. And the more I did that, the actual better I felt for me. And now that's the one caveat that I wish everybody would understand, that we eat differently, but we also eat the same. Like you eat a vegetarian diet, right?
Actually, it's a vegan diet, which
diet. I'm sorry. That's right.
I didn't even know what vegan was, like, 6 years ago. I didn't even know what it was. I couldn't even tell you. But yeah. But this is about you right now.
About it. Yep. No, that's good. So, like right now, I eat pretty much meat, and I don't like, like it's not steak at dinner and eggs at lunch completely, but that's close. You know, I also eat, fish a lot, in to get those omega-3s, but people might not know this, but a high quality meat also has omega-3s. The one at the supermarket, that's not the grass-fed and all that, those have less of that stuff because of the way those animals eat. And it can get expensive when you try to eat that the real primo way and the grass fed and all that. So I can't do that very often, but I will occasionally, go and we'll get something really good like that to get really, really good. Maybe once a week I'll get something that's a grass fed. So I'll eat. I do time restricted eating, but we can talk about this because I've been modifying myself in the past month, and that's a good topic. For the future, especially, where I've actually cut back on my time restricted eating and tried to eat earlier in the day and not so restricted. I was down to almost one meal a day at one point. And to be in ketosis, that it's great, but there's other problems with my daily cycle that caused, especially with the medical stuff I was going through and the stress of that and lack of sleep. And I found that if I ate more, it helped me sleep better. And I learned a tip the other day, and I think it was Dom D'Agostino that might have said this, or somebody. It was somebody like that, or it was in a conversation he was in, where if you eat protein at night, you sleep better. You actually sleep more through the night, and I get less hypoglycemic at 3 in the morning. So if you find that you're waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, nice tip, everybody.
Yeah, I'll put it on the show notes. He has a fantastic blog. I bet he writes about that. I'll find the link.
It may have not have been him, but he may have been in the conversation. That's why I'm kind of mixing it up. Like he may have been in a group discussion, and I maybe somebody else in the group had said it. But yeah, you eat protein, not like like I like to eat like cream cheese and zero carb, zero sugar Jello, and I mix that, and that's a sweet thing. That wouldn't do it. But something with a lot of protein would last longer through the night, and you would sleep longer, and you wouldn't get that wake up. So I found that it's not immediate, but it's helping a little bit. So I've been kind of changing that. And the other thing is I'm eating earlier in the day because I'm trying to switch my cycle. I tend to be a night person, and because I'm trying to protect my sleep, I'm trying to get to bed earlier. So I'm shifting all of my habits to earlier in the day. So I try to get sun at 9 to 10. I do some work, and then I go outside and get some sun, and then I come back in, and at lunch I'll go out and I'll sit out there with my puppy, and I'll have lunch outside and get some sun. And it's great. And I'm finding that that's helping my sleep as well.
Whoa, gosh, I didn't know any of this. You're like teaching me. You're such a good coach.
Well, I learned about it on a podcast this week, right? Well, thank you.
Yeah. I'm hiring you right now. Yeah, I didn't know. It actually makes me wonder if I should shift things, especially with the spring coming. Yay.
Yeah.
I usually have a morning smoothie that is, to me, it's really, I make sure it's thick. Like I soak chia seeds the night before so they expand, and they have omega-3s, by the way.
Nice.
And then I put them in almond milk in the morning with protein powder, and then cacao nibs, which I'm going to talk about later. I'm totally into cacao nibs that are unsweetened.
Not to mention fiber and satiety.
Yeah, they have fiber. With the chia seeds. Dude, this smoothie makes me happy every morning. I have it, but I'm thinking maybe I'm having it too late in the morning, and it's possible to just shift and have it earlier and see if it affects things. But I do because I only have a smoothie in the morning, and then I cut out my garbage, my processed bars that I love so much. I was having one a day in the afternoon, and I cut those out, and then I have a dinner. So I'm wondering, I'm hungry in the early evening, and I'm wondering if I could have
me
it
too.
later. You know what I mean? So I have to, it's a work in progress. I just have to kind of experiment and stuff. And of course, drink water every hour.
Right. And we can talk more about this in a future episode when we talk about mood and food and cycles and things like that, or during the day, or when you go through a lot of medical stress. I think I want to do a special episode on just how to deal with, like, I have surgery coming up on Wednesday. So after the surgery and I get through all that, and after the thing I just had a month ago, which I had difficulty with, like there was a lot of things I learned. And one of the things relates exactly to your question about what do I eat? I find that dairy bothers me when there's other stresses in my life. So if I'm not sleeping well, or if I have a cold or anything like that, anything that makes me more inflamed, those triggers that maybe didn't bother me when I was, okay, like all good, tend to bother me a little bit more. So I've cut back on the dairy in the last few weeks, but when I'm feeling better and the surgery has gone by, I'm going to add my dairy back in a little bit harder, but hard cheeses I can still do,
Sorry to cut you off, but I'm excited because I was, I've been reading Dr. Georgia Ead's book, Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. Yep. And she does talk about giving up dairy, but I can't remember, she's brilliant and I forget why exactly. I'm not good at remembering the hardcore facts.
For a lot of people, dairy is inflammatory. If you're healthy and you don't have inflammation in general, like as a default state, right? You might be able to tolerate dairy. A lot of people can, right? And I usually can, although I couldn't before I went keto. Dairy was a problem for me. And then I found that once I went keto, I was able to eat more dairy, especially hard cheeses and things like that. But over the past couple of months, with the things I've been going through, I've had to cut it back out. And so the same thing applied to vegetables, because vegetables, you know, I can eat broccoli and asparagus and spinach, and all those. And I love cooking with those because it makes the meals more exciting. You can put more things in, you know, you're getting the things that are in there. But but they also have always aggravated me, especially any nightshade, immediate like reaction. So I found that cutting them down and down and down, I started to feel better and better and better. Now it's an individual thing, and Dr. Georgia Ead's book talks about that. And you wanna figure out what's good for you. You know what I mean? That's why I eat the way I do. That's why you eat the way you do. You know what I mean? But we can all do ketosis. You know,
that's what's so great. It's a democratic metabolic state.
That's right. That's right.
Oh yeah. I just wish I knew about it, you know, like 30 years ago. That would have been nice. Yeah. But no, that's cool. And you know, I think I've been thinking a lot about inflammation lately, just in general, and just anything that can help with it. It's like the buzzword, right? But anything that can help reduce it. But it's interesting because it's been such a stressful week for both of us. And I know that stress, just any kind of external stress, will increase your inflammation, right? So anything you can do to just bring it down. Thank you.
And I can give you,
do it.
And I can tell you, because I check my ketones and my glucose every day. On any day where I had a hard day the day before, or if I got woken up for some medical reason at night, things like that, I can tell that my ketone numbers will go from 2.5 on one day. I'll eat the same exact food, live the same exact experience, and have those change. My glucose goes, woo, you know, 10, 20 points. And my ketones will drop, you know, 40%, like from whatever, 2.5 to 1.5. You know, today it was at 1. And I'm like, wow, because I ate the same as I've been eating. And I actually feel like I'm actually winning the battle. I'm actually healing, and I'm getting better. But it's amazing how you find that stuff out.
I'm so glad that you brought this up. First of all, I still haven't done the glucose testing. I need to. I have my little baby here, my little Keto Mojo thing, but I've never used the
I'll send you some strips. How about that?
No, I have them. I have the strips. I have both strips, and I will start doing it. But the thing that resonates for me that you just talked about is that I was eating the same stuff every day. I really do. I need to diversify, but that's a topic for another day. But because all of a sudden I was so happy because my ketones one day were like 2.0, which I want them to be higher, but I was like, yay, they're 2.0. And then the next day they went down, but they would go down to like 0.7. You know, same time of day, same food, but it was when I started to get stressed out because I had a sick child, right? But it does something to your mindset. You have to remember what we're both talking about, right? Like if you're stressed, don't let the numbers get you too freaked out. If you're going through something extraordinary, I wish I knew, you know, what you just said helped me, because it gets discouraging. It's kind of like weighing yourself, like dieting for a week, and you weigh yourself on the scale and you're heavier than you were when you started. You know, it's that feeling of like, So anyway, it's just good to keep in the back of your head.
I can relate to that 100%. But you know what happens to me is the thought that I should measure is worse than if I get a low number.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the stress of me literally like going, I wonder what my number is. I wonder what my number is. I wonder what my number is. I wonder what my number is.
I'm still figuring it out. You know, I'm only 18 months into this, which in some ways it's a long time. In other ways, it's just beginning. You know, I hear about people who've been doing this for 20 years for diabetes reasons, you know? So it's all good. You know, we'll fine tune it as you go. You know, don't get discouraged for long.
Exactly.
So moving on, my dear, we both have special things. One special thing segment. We have music for it. You can do beatbox.
All right. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Well, I broke the rule that you and I set, and I have two special things. Okay. But just indulge me, everybody. Okay. First one is I printed this out, and I will put it in the show notes. But in January, we had something very exciting happen. Let's see if I can do this right. On NPR, there's a huge article about keto and mental illness, and it had all the great keto stars like Dr. Iain Campbell and Dr. Shabani Sethi, Dr. Chris Palmer, and more. So I will put the link in our show notes to this article. It has all kinds of cool stuff in it. And it really made an impression on people who had no idea about using ketosis for mental health, and specifically bipolar and stuff like that. So that's what's one cool thing. And
that's
then
a really good one.
Thank you. This is my other cool thing.
People go to NPR, look on the link we'll put in the show notes, and you can go check that article out. It's very, very excellent.
If you don't want to wait, or if you just want to know, verbally, it's what's it called? Oh, all Things Considered by Will Stone on January 27th. Just put that in your hippocampus or whatever. And then the other cool thing, I almost lit it on fire. That would have been really interesting. It fell on my candle. Awesome.
Excellent.
Okay, these are heavenly. They're going to go in the show notes. They're cacao nibs, unsweetened, gluten-free. They are so good, and everything. They elevate whatever you eat. If it's a smoothie, I like to have them with almond butter at night. You can also, this is another brand. It's called Navitas. You can find this at Whole Foods and stuff like that. But these are my special. This is my indulgence. They're not even that expensive, and they're from a small women-owned farm in Ecuador, and they're not that expensive. So,
nice.
I love cacao nibs. I should probably work for a cacao nib company. So that's my other cool thing.
I love chocolate.
I'm a chocoholic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So my special thing is I want people to go, especially if you're, only if you're interested in hearing about a carnivore story.
Sorry.
Kerry Mann Jr. He has a YouTube channel called HomeSteadHow. And it's an amazing channel, and it's related to my special thing from last month, where Bill Knott in Alaska, Bill from Alaska, an awesome gentleman, musician, has been doing carnivore, and he's been doing great. He's actually starting to be able to walk now, and he's lost over 100 pounds in 8 months or something like that. It's like 6 or 8 months or something like that. He's feeling better, and he's just an amazing guy to listen to. He's a natural Bill Knott. But anyway, Kerry is having him, I believe, in a documentary called Healing Humanity, I believe is the name. So you can Google that or go on to his YouTube channel, HomeSteadHow. Kerry's an amazing guy. He in the show I watched the other day, he was talking about how he's so happy now helping people and things like that. When he sees a happy story, he just starts bawling with tears for joy. You know what I mean? He's like, I never did that before. You know what I mean? And
that's so sweet.
He's just a great guy. So I love for people interested in carnivore and keto to go check out his channel and the documentary that will be coming. It's just cool. So that's my cool thing. Now it's hard to pick because can I do two?
Yes.
All right, good. I'm cheating too. Matt Baszucki and Jan Baszucki were on the Today Show a few weeks ago, and that's something. It was so amazing to see on such a mainstream platform to have all of this talked about. They're so good, and thank you for doing that, Matt, for telling and Jan for telling that's such a painful story, but also a happy story because of the results and all of these efforts that are coming from all of this. And to have it on such a mainstream place, I think it just really gave me hope. I'm like Carrie, I'm a cry over it, right?
Okay. Also, I think I saw that piece too. It went kind of viral around the metabolic psychiatry community. And, I've seen a lot of these things now, and I kind of put up a wall sometimes because I don't want to get burned out or whatever. But Jan Baszucki was talking about her son, Matt, who had terrible bipolar disorder and was homeless for a while and all kinds of horrible things. So as a parent, I just couldn't, imagine if that happened to one of my kids, I would completely fall apart. And she did talk about falling apart. She said, I was in on the floor in a little fetal position, and this is someone who she's a really strong woman. You know, it would take a lot for that to happen to her, and for her to go from that with her son to her son now speaking at conferences and helping people is really amazing. And all the people on the Today Show, they were really like, I liked how they presented it. They didn't say anything weird or, you know, you know, they were really like open-minded about it and positive. So if, you know, if someone, you know, who's kind of skeptical about this, that's the kind of person you want to give this link to, you know what I mean?
And speaking of that, that was something I could share with family, you know, close family that may not quite understand everything that you know we're talking about when we do it. They kind of know, oh, he's doing the thing where he eats a certain way and it helps him and it's great. They get that. But to see Matt and Jan and their family's story on the Today Show, that's something I can send them to. The host did a great job. I thought she actually grasped what they were talking about. I felt like they must have had a lot of, you know, conversations off screen where the host really knew what to ask, and it wasn't a fluff piece. It was really, really well done and thoughtful.
That's perfect.
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah.
Good. Hey, that's a really good, cool thing. Keep it up.
I thought you were going to do that one.
The bar. No, I know we didn't tell each other. We deliberately wanted to surprise each other and you viewers. And by the way, I forgot one thing that I have on our agenda is to say thank you to all of our 65 subscribers. Thank you for believing in us. It might even be 66 now, just as long as it's not 666. I'm cool. Even if it is, you know, actually, I'd be fine with 666.
Because it'll become 667 right after.
That's right. There's nothing wrong with those numbers. But spread the word. Please help us. We want to succeed by getting the word out to as many people as possible, especially the skeptics, or the on the fencers, because, you know, if you told me about this 2 years ago, I would have said you're full of, you know what, I would have been like, right, you know, and it just took a weird series of events. I won't go into them all right now, but to just fall into this, you know, and it's been really cool. And I want everyone else to go through it, you know.
The hardest thing is to not like want to shake people and say, you need to do this. You know what I mean? Everybody has to get in their own path and they have to learn about things in their own way. But that's why we're out here just being examples and talking about it and letting everyone know like how positive this has been in our lives.
Well, it does. I mean, the thing to say, like, part of me wants to, you know, go around, make like bumper stickers or whatever, but I know it also doesn't work for, I hate to sound like Debbie Downer, but it doesn't work for everyone. That's what I'm hearing from the people you and I follow, but it works for a huge amount of people. And it doesn't not necessarily dramatic sometimes, but who cares? You know, even if there's some small gains, it's worth it.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. It's usually supportive, if not completely.
Right.
You know, it's at least supportive, and it can make your other treatments less side effects and things like that, which everybody wants, right?
Well, that's that's the difference between you and me, because you're not on meds right now, right? You're
correct. I was treatment resistant. Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I would not that I wouldn't have been still on them, but I couldn't. Well, they didn't work for me.
I know, and then with me, I am still on meds, but I'm at slightly lower dosage of lithium, but you know, and that's just where I'm at right now. I've had people say, oh, well, you know, they kind of like challenge me on that, but I'm fine with it. You know, I mean, what I would ideally like is like a total cure for this illness, right? But in the meantime, you know,
with the epilepsy cure, because that's what this kind of mimics, you know, like it can be 3 to 5 years. And some people, they have less seizures and some people have none. You know, and some people can actually start to eat more, quote, normal, or, you know,
carbs,
and bring some carbs back in, you know, some healthy carbs and be okay, you know, or even, you know, like indulge a little bit, and be okay. But so I think we're only, you know, a year plus in each, right? So in 3 years and 5 years, who knows, right?
I mean, I remember when I met with Denise Potter. I've only met with her once, but she's an amazing nutritionist, ketogenic nutritionist. I'll link her on our show notes. And, you know, the first goal was for me to get under 20 net carbs a day. That's where I feel good. But she did say, you know, we could modify things so that at some point you could go from 20 to 50 and still
Right.
50 net carbs a day, and still reap benefits. Now, when she said that, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, because I was so, at the beginning, I was so like committed and, too strict probably.
Right.
But I was paranoid. Because I was like, I'm finally feeling good things happen here, and I don't want to mess them up by going over 20 net carbs a day. So it's a dance, I'm still figuring out. But for me right now, and this is another show we could talk about, like the fine tuning, right? How many net carbs really work, or should some people don't do net carbs? They just do total carbs. They don't want to take chances.
I do total.
You do?
Total. Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm not a net guy. I'm a total guy because I eat carnivore. It's easier. If I didn't, I would probably do net if I ate differently. Yeah. But I push it. But one of the things we talked about with food, and like to bring this discussion up, was I was vegetarian myself for a good 12 years, and I had all kinds of problems with food my whole adult life. Actually, while I was a kid too, even in school, I would be the kid that, would have to go to the bathroom in the middle of class. And I remember when I was 5, I think I was in catechism or whatever, and I raised my hand sheepishly, and there's like 75 kids in this class. I knew nobody, right? Because it was a church thing, not a school thing. And the young teacher, she goes, "You can wait." So I couldn't wait. So I sat there and didn't wait. And I made a mess. And my mom gave the lady, the young teacher, like a piece of her mind. I had to go. So I've had trouble with food my whole life. Not that doesn't happen to anybody in different occasions, like if you're sick or whatever. But when I became an adult and started to buy my own food, I started experimenting with eating, and I've done so many weird things. I did like carrot juice for 3 days, 4 days, and tried that because some fad, like let's get the juicer and make all kinds of stuff. We're making like carrots and everything and all fruit. So I have done that. I did Eat Right for Your Type, though, was probably the first thing I tried. I don't know if you're familiar with that one from the 90s.
I've heard of it.
The Diamonds.
Marilyn Diamond, I think.
Yeah, and her husband. And they basically said food combining was the problem. So they would say, eat meat or eat bread, but don't eat meat and bread together. And I think there's some truth in that, because what you're doing is you're taking the bread out when you eat the meat, or you're eating the bread but not eating the fat at the same time. Like I think you can. There's some truth to it, but it didn't really solve much. But I learned a whole lot of things, including like an almond milk recipe, which I thought was amazing. I still know how to make, and it used to be a big glass of fat basically by the time you were done, because it wasn't the water, flavored water that you get in a carton now when you get almond milk. This was almonds that I would crush and like squeeze it out and filter it. I was really good. I could make it today, Sue, I'm sure. God. And it is the tastiest, fattest thing ever, and probably my first taste of like eating fat as like a drink. And I had a friend that would come over for entertaining, and she's like, "You need to make that." And I'm like, it can make you sick, because she wasn't used to eating so much fat. But I'm like, but she's like, "I don't care. You need to make it." So I'd make it,
and we'd eat. So yummy.
It was so good.
Is it really that much different, nutrition wise, than what we buy at the store? Really? Yes. I didn't know that.
Not even
a friend of mine makes it, with cheesecloths or something.
Yep, that's what I do. And you grind up the almonds, you blanch them to get the skins off. So it's just the white part, or you just buy the white part, and then you crush it in a blender, and then you run it through water, and you push it with a spoon into the I'm losing a word here.
The bottom of the blender?
The strainer. A strainer, and you push it through, and then you do that again until nothing's coming out of it. Like literally there's no more fat to pull out, right? And you squishing all that out, and then use the cheesecloth, you strain it one more time, and then you're left with this much out of like a whole bag of almonds. You end up with like maybe 2 glasses about that size, one for each, of you eating, and it's amazing. But that actually helped. But from there, I realized, I'm going to do vegetarian. And overnight, I just said, I'm vegan, and I stopped eating meat completely. And this was in the 90s. And I did that for 12 years.
Vegan or vegetarian?
Vegan for about 9. And then when I got married, I went veggie instead, so I could open up my, palate a little bit to go out to eat and things like that. It made it a little easier. And then, but I had lots of health issues. I was, gaining lots of weight, and because I did not do vegetarian.
You didn't do vegetarian.
I didn't do vegetarian route. My friends would call me, and they were right, the junk food vegetarian. So I would eat pizza and bread and not much vegetables whatsoever, even though I was vegan, quote, And I did add dairy in at some point, but then I was eating dairy and bread, which both of those actually aggravate me. And I figured that out once I stopped, that for me personally, I do better with just a meat diet. But it took me another 12 years to figure that out with the ketosis by accident,
So it wasn't any one thing where you just went from one to the other. It was like a progressive
I tried everything because food bothered me. Food really bothered me.
Yeah.
But I was drinking 6-7 cans of Coca-Cola a day too, like in some of that period. Like for a great deal of my life, I ate badly, so yeah, I was vegan. I was also pounding Coca-Cola, you know what I mean? And at some point I'm like, Coke bothers me, and I had to stop drinking it. And I found out more recently it's probably the phosphorus.
High fructose. Oh, the phosphorus.
Yeah. So if I drink anything, no, it was actually the dark colas would bother me because they had the phosphorus in it for the taste and also for the color, and it was too much acid. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure, but it really bothered me, and I can't drink it now at all. Like if I drink it, I'm like, whoa. Not that I ever would, but before I was keto, if I took a dark cola like at Christmas, I felt it. I could tell. Wow. Just things like that. But I always had problems with food. So I've been always doing these elimination things. And I accidentally did keto in like 2007-ish. I decided to eat carnivore because of paleo. That's what they called it then. Lauren Cordain, I think, the athlete guy that basically made paleo a thing. And I didn't know it, but I went into ketosis then and had my first really, really bad hypomania at the time, but I thought it was great. I'm like, oh my God, I feel amazing. This is great. And then I crashed after, and I probably told that story before. But, so I've been experimenting forever. Yeah. And I lost all the weight. That was another time where I had my weight went down to nothing. I was down to my 18-year-old weight. It all came back.
No.
Well, because I wouldn't know about the principle of keto. I was just eating paleo just to try paleo. It's like, oh, I did veggie. Might as well try this other way. And it actually did make me feel better. So I think that factored into the last, 8 months where I started to like eat less and less vegetables. I kind of remembered how good I felt, eating just meat. And I don't eat deli meats or anything like that. It's just real whole.
No processed?
No, I will not, because that stuff bothers me too.
Yeah. Well, gosh, that's great that you've been able to use all this experience that you've been through to help other people and tell them what not to do, because it's a lot of it is about elimination, right? It's not even about adding. Like that's one thing that I got out of George's book. One of the big things that has stuck with me is it's not necessarily about finding a supplement that's going to, cure your problems or make your life a lot better. It's about looking at what you're doing and getting rid of something. As for me, I'm kind of figuring out what that is. But my big thing, this is something we should talk about for another show, is the sleep. Because I am also going through, perimenopause. So that has another little angle to it. But I have found that ever since I started doing keto, if I stay under 20 net carbs, my hot flashes and night sweats go away.
Oh, wow. That's great.
I know. And you think that would be reason enough for me not to slide and go above 20. See, like there's too much to talk about in one episode. I don't even know,
right.
I hope you're keeping track of time because I'm so like carried away. I don't even know where we are.
No, like what about your history? Like, what did you eat? Not to age us, but like years ago.
Fine. Just so everyone knows, I'm going to let everyone know my birthday's coming. It's March 18th. Coming. We're doing a countdown. It's also my dog's birthday. We both have the same birthday, and I'll turn 54. Lucy is going to be 9, and it's the new 4. She's so full of energy. But anyway, so with me, I really went from kind of one extreme, not extreme, but just one way of life to another. I mean, I've been a meat eater my whole life. I always say carnivore, and I shouldn't say that because that's different. Thank you, omnivore, right?
Yeah.
I grew up with a father who loved making. He had lived in France for a couple of years, and he loved making, all kinds of meat-oriented dishes. It was just a way of life, right?
Yep.
So then, I keep forgetting the exact year, but I think it was 6 years ago. I was out walking my dog Lucy. This is when I was still eating meat, and I was looking at my cell phone, and I was crossing a tennis court. I might have talked about this in our first episode. I don't know. But anyway, so I was walking across this tennis court with my dog and looking at my cell phone, and I didn't see that there was a tennis net on the ground, and I tripped over it and I broke my jaw. And fell on my face on the cement and broke my jaw. And that is not fun. And so I just was relaxing, watching like Netflix movies, right? And one of them was this documentary called What the Health, which I had heard about. And I don't know, it wasn't something I necessarily wanted to see, but for some reason I decided to watch it. And it does talk about being vegan and what
I think I've seen it. I do
really?
think I've seen it. Yeah.
I also wanted to watch it just because like someone who lives in Santa Cruz where I live is a co-producer. So I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Sure. So basically I watched this film, and in 2 hours I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm a vegan. And like I didn't go into this. I didn't go into it wanting to be a vegan. It was never like a goal. I mean, I hadn't even been a vegetarian like you. So that's what makes this story kind of funny. Like I just went from one way of life to another, but it's been really good, and I'm not here on our podcast to push it. I'm here to explain like it can be done, because a lot of people just don't think you can do keto and be a vegetarian or vegan and do it in a good way. So, and it's not a perfect way. Right. I'm still learning all the time about how to make this better and healthier and stuff. But it makes me happy. It all comes down to, does it make me happy?
That's right.
Me.
No, that's perfect. I have to say, you made me think of something I wanted to mention.
Please.
When I started the vegetarianism or the veganism, because I started vegan, like I was really hardcore. I did not think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I didn't think twice about the animals. There was
I didn't either.
There was nothing to do with animals. It wasn't a humanitarian thing at the time. But by the time 12 years went by, I did feel that way. And your taste buds change, and what you're used to eating and what you actually think smells funny. Things like that. Like I couldn't be in the room with somebody cooking meat; it would smell like poop to me, like literally. And
something that your chemistry makeup or whatever changed. Yeah, I
have to tell you that even today, and I hear this is a phenomenon. And if you watch the HomeStead How, they were talking about this the other day, that there are some people that after a while eating this way, like carnivore, you can start to get an aversion to like eating a food. Like I'll get that way with eggs. Like I'll be like, I've eaten eggs too much now. I'm going to take a break. So I take a break for a couple of weeks, and then I start eating eggs again when I actually crave them again. I guess some people that happens with steak and things like that. But I have to tell you that the little part of me that knows I'm eating an animal and things like that has not gone away. So I'm eating every day, kind of going, okay. And then once I start eating, I love it. But the thought of it is I still have an aversion. Now I don't have that, the smell problem or, being in the room with any of that. It smells good now. But I did have that, and I kind of can understand, how that is a real personal thing, and you don't want to stress yourself out eating, right?
No. And I totally appreciate your being honest, because a lot of people wouldn't say that, so they just wouldn't. Yeah. So I think that's really cool that you're willing to say that. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to be pushy, because that's just going to alienate people. So I'm not going to, I'm not here to do that. And plus, I can't change you. I can't change my husband, although he's vegan now, but, and I didn't think that was going to happen. I'm like, what the heck? I totally didn't think that was going to happen. So you just never know. And like you said, you just have to do what works for you and stuff. So,
right. But like a heavy meat diet would not be for my wife either.
Yeah.
It's just too much. She gets, it's too much, pretty, and it has to do with what you're used to eating and all that too. But it's also, how you feel about stuff and how it makes you feel. That's why all of this is individualized, and people can shout about, oh, it's natural to blah, blah, blah. And then somebody will say it about vegan. It's natural to blah, blah, blah. Like they all make the same arguments. When it really comes down to is it's up to the individual to do what's right for them. And you can eat healthy.
It's like religion. It's politics, religion. It's just one of those things. You have to accept. I'm not going to be able to change the world, and to do that is just going to be, it's like putting your head against a wall, to try to go into it that way. So you just have to. So yeah, I just, I do have a problem when I see misinformation.
Sure.
Like, oh, you can't do vegan keto. Well, what am I doing? Am I a zombie? No. Right. So anyway, and we'll keep sharing resources about ways to do that, and all different kinds of resources, carnivore, whatever.
And my regular thing about, I don't like people on the fringes on both sides trying to say that the other side is wrong. It's like, there's no sides. Okay. There's you eat what's right for you. And you think, like I'll say a carnivore person that does it, you think you're doing the right thing for them because you think you know all the right answers for you, and you're like, it makes sense to me, we ate meat, but the same exact argument is used on the other side. And all you're doing is making people feel bad about eating, and you're making all of us, like you just said, like you're making ketosis, which is the big deal for what we're talking about, actually like less of a thing. And that's actually the part that matters. It's not what, it's how, and both ways. You don't eat processed foods. You don't eat, refined oils, the bad seed oils. Like you're avoiding that. You're eating healthy fat. You're not afraid of fat. You know what I mean? Like it's a party diet. All these principles all matter. And if broccoli and spinach and asparagus is great for you, awesome. I'm happy. You know what I mean? And if meat happens to be the thing that I do, that it makes me feel better, that's great too.
Right.
So shame on you. There's my little waggy finger that I give to the zealot. Right. Stop fighting.
The nice thing about a podcast is if there's any troll comments, we can get rid of them. Yay! We are He-Man and She-Ra.
I'm going to be a broken record and bring that up a lot, because it seems to be getting worse lately. It really does. That's everyone's right.
Yeah. It's just going to always be like that. So it's just like you just have to take care of yourself and get in a better place to deal with it. And that sounds all nice and zen right now, but if you get me in a car behind someone who's being a horrible driver, I have to tell you, I don't go through a little bit of road rage. My 2 daughters are telling me to stop, chill out, but sometimes it just depends. But what I like about ketosis for everybody who can do it is like, it gives you a foundation. Whatever's going on in your life, we're all going to hit difficulties, that is just how it is. But if you have that foundation there, you'll be able to deal with them a little bit better than if you didn't have it, whether or not you take medications and whether or not you have therapy or whatever.
That's right.
So that's how I see it. So we are the foundation.
Yep. And not only that, like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, we spent a bit about, talking about our weeks. The past few weeks were tough, and we had to deal with, when you get cortisol in your system, or if you don't sleep right, you get, more cortisol, and you're not having the repair part of the night, and it's really affecting you. You know what I mean? And everything gets harder. So you have to adjust. So it's a daily fight. It's not one thing. You know what I mean? You gotta think about what you're doing, and you gotta monitor yourself, and you gotta say, oh, okay, I was a little extra moody. Maybe I need to eat. Maybe I need to not fast for so long during a day. You know what I mean? So I've added meals in. Like, I got so upset the other day for no reason, and there was nobody here. Nothing happened. And I went, oh, wait a minute. Maybe I should eat. I ate within a half an hour, and that's the first time I had hangry in a year. You know what I mean? Like, before keto, I was Mr. Hangry. I would come home upset and mad because I'd work all day, and I could get focused, the hyper focus, and I'd forget to eat. Or if I ate, it would be crap from garbage from Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's. You know what I mean? If I did something I could grab quick, so it wouldn't interrupt me while I was working. And I would drink 6 diet Mountain Dews a day. Stop doing that because that bothered me too. And I didn't, I thought, oh, it doesn't have phosphorus in it.
Sorry, that's bad.
Right. And 1 or 2 would be fine, but I was drinking 6. You know what I mean? Not to mention the caffeine at that level was not good.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. No, that's great. See, because now you might, maybe some of you guys listening, like, you'll remember what Michael just said about that weird hangry thing. Yep. Yeah, because that's weird. Like, just to go into a bad mood for no real reason, just to. Yeah. I mean,
and hangry was. I thought bipolar was hangry. I mean, I said that in my talk at the conference, but I felt like it was a permanent hangry. Like, I'd be fine for a while after I ate, but then 3 hours later, I'd be all moody again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
yeah. No, I mean, this is the way to go. And I want everyone watching this to feel like, we're both here to support you. We both like to respond to the comments and give you, do whatever we can. I will mention, when in the show notes, I don't think I did this last time, but there's that great Keto Bipolar Reddit group that Dr. Iain Campbell started. That would be a cool resource for people.
Great.
Just for support. So I don't think I included that. So I don't really like Reddit, but I do go on there for that group. So I,
That's fantastic.
And it's
I
cool
love the idea of Reddit.
Too crazy. Yeah.
I love the idea of it, that people can go in and add topics, and they're there, and you can go to that topic, and now there's a forum just for that topic, and they're all there, and you can kind of browse through. I love that idea. For all the internet stuff, when the .com came out, there was a couple other sites that did that same thing, and Reddit's the one that survived. But I love that. Trying to think of it doesn't matter, but I love the idea of it. But it's also the internet, and
But that group, it's cool because it's pretty small. I mean, it has like 260 members, but there's not that much on there. But when people ask for support, you get a lot of responses or advice, non-medical and all that. But and they're really, most of them are pretty intelligent. Right. All of them are pretty intelligent, just in case all of you guys are watching this from that group. All of them are intelligent, but so I'll include that. Should we make our announcement for our next show, who our special guest is?
I think we can. I think we can do it. It's booked, and it's somebody we both love.
We don't have an air date yet, but we will announce that soon. But here it goes. Da, 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 da. Our first guest. Change your diet, change your mind. Best-selling author Dr. Georgia Ede is going to be our first guest. We're very excited, and we're going to do a Q&A with her. And if I have good questions now. I have a couple of viewer questions. So if anyone wants to throw out a viewer question on the comments, we can take that into consideration. We can't guarantee that because Georgia is so busy. We don't know how long we'll have her in our clutches, but we're really
we got to respect her time. She's so important and busy and amazing. So
she's doing so many appearances, but she's really like, if you're into Twitter, which some of us are, some of us aren't, she's very responsive on Twitter. You can always try to reach out to her that way or through Instagram. Anyway, so that's happening.
Looking forward to that. I can't wait.
And probably end of March they'll go up, or early April, because we're going to meet with her on the mid-March. So
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Is there anything else we should cover? I don't know how long we've been talking.
I don't know. I think we've packed this thing tight. Is there anything else about food that you want to say and you missed? I think I'm good.
I'm good. We can always. There's always the next show, right? There's always.
Let us know we didn't answer your question out there, because we get it. What do you eat? What do you eat? And I usually say what I eat is what I eat, and what you should eat is what you should eat. You know what I mean? If you want to talk about ketosis and how to do that, I can talk about that. But because like one of the things in the coaching that I took with Nutrition Network that I got the most out of was to think about other people's needs that aren't mine. You know, that aren't like mine. It's one thing for me to say I can copy, you know, like I have bipolar type 2 and you know, have a certain place in my life and I'm treatment resistant in a certain way. I know that life, you know what I mean? I know how I live and what my levers are, and you know, I'm learning every day about how to navigate that. But what the training taught me was other people have completely different needs. You know, like they can be at 50 grams would actually be a huge benefit for them where they're not even in ketosis all the time. And, you know, as a tangent, you know, something we can keep an eye on and talk about in the future. But I'm hearing people say now that you might not want to be in a hard ketosis all the time. You might want to like back off a little bit and not, I'm not saying eat junk. I'm saying maybe you want to go to 50 at some points, or maybe go back to 20 when you need to, and go, you know, and then, but 50 is okay at certain times. And you know yourself, you know what your life is having at that point, and, you know, just know yourself. Right.
No, that's a really good point. I definitely want to talk about that in the future because I have some thoughts, but that'll eat up another 20 minutes. And I know I like podcasts that are like, I don't know, 30 minutes to 60 minutes. When I'm listening to them, it's kind of like a nice, like 2 hours is kind of like a long time.
I like 1 hour as well. Yeah, I do like long format, and that's what, you know, 52 minutes and 42 seconds is a long format. But, you know, I think we packed it in. You know, I could talk to you for 3 hours, and you know, we'll spare everyone. And thank everybody for listening. And you know, have a great month, and we'll see you next time with Dr. Georgia E. interview.
Thank you so much for being with us. See you soon. See you in the spring. Yay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.